Danny watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Danny and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back to Watching My Stories.
That's what this is.
Remember when we used to do this?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah. I'm Danny.
Oh, I'm John.
Jean.
Jean. I'm French today. Oui.
Jacques Lapidieu. Yeah, so I think an apology should be put out there if anyone cares.
I'm sorry.
That it's been 6 weeks since we did our last one.
Yeah.
And that has been verified.
Yes, there was quite a debate about it this morning.
So we are sorry. We have slacked on the whole schedule thing, I'd say, in the last year. And I am sorry about that. I am still watching a ton of stuff, and we get to the every other week, and then it's like, oh no, and then the next week, no. And this time we actually took a vacation here. So that I think that threw a lot off because I was prepping so hard for the vacation, and then we took a vacation. And let me tell you folks, this was our first vacation in 14 years, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Official vacation. So it was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But it was nice. We're back. We made it back, and we're all good and rested.
Yeah.
So looking forward to all the holidays, which we probably should figure out if we're going to do any kind of special holiday list or anything. So we'll talk about that.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Okay. So I have a ton, obviously, over the 6 weeks, so I'm going to go really fast through some things.
Okay.
But first, let's venture over to John's joke corner.
Oh, no, there's so much pressure.
And see what he's got for us this week.
Well, I did a lot of research.
Watching TikTok
I
for
watched
hours.
a couple TikTok, a couple minutes ago. Oh boy!
So you stole these from TikTok?
Stole these from TikTok. There's a guy I follow named Lucas Alifano.
Okay.
He does dad jokes, and it's hard because part of what I crack up about is he cracks up when he's doing these.
Yeah.
So it just makes me laugh.
Delivery.
It is. It's totally the delivery. So these probably aren't very good jokes, actually. So
great.
The apologies continue. So the police put out a report the other day that there's a person going around and stealing sewing machines, and they posted a map of where all the places he's hit.
Okay.
And he definitely seems to be following a pattern.
Okay.
I kind of have another one.
Yes, please.
So the police, a lot of these involve.
There's a theme today.
Well, right after that, they posted another report that be on the lookout for a giant pickle, and everybody's treating it as a pretty big deal.
Okay. Yep, that's it.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Good for you.
Thank you for letting me do that.
Yes.
Sorry about that last minute, people.
All right. So we are going to dive into some movies and then a bunch of TV shows. And then in our Actors Corner this week is Martin Short.
Whew.
Is that who you did?
I got lucky.
Okay, good.
I thought that's who you said, so that's who I did.
Good. All right. So the first movie I'm going to start with is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Mm-hmm.
So I am behind the curve on this. I did not go see it in the theaters because I've been afraid to go to theaters. So I had to wait until it came out on Disney Plus this weekend. But I finally watched it, and I'm so happy and I'm so excited. And actually, I think now I'm feeling a little more comfortable. So now I'm going to allow myself to go see Eternals. So hopefully that'll be in the next week or two.
In the theater?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to wait anymore. It's so hard to wait. So anyway, Shang-Chi. Loved this movie.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot of love.
It's so good. It's so Marvel. And it's so I kept thinking of the Black Panther the whole time, because they led into the richness of this Chinese legend of these 10 rings and this village that Shang-Chi's mother comes from, Talo, which is like this fantasy nature village that has these kind of not magical powers, but just it's very cool and very interesting and very beautiful and colorful and with just this legend behind it of these creatures. And then his dad has the 10 rings, and he's just this kind of jerk who's after all this power and money and has lived for 1,000 years with these 10 rings and has all this power and stuff. So, but it's this story of, we meet him as Sean, Simu Liu, who plays Shang-Chi. We meet him as Sean, and he's like a valet parking guy, and his best friend for most of his life is Katie, who's Aquafina, and they work together and they just go to karaoke and party together and stuff, and it's real fun. But then we find out his whole backstory of his father with the 10 rings and his mother coming from this village and all this sort of stuff. And he has this sister who's badass, and she's going to play a big role in the future. And so it was very cool. It was a very like, there are really cool shots that are kind of done all in one thing. I don't like watching movies in IMAX, but for those that saw this in IMAX, it had to have been an amazing experience because I can just see how it would play to that. It probably would have made me really sick, which is why I don't like watching them, but it would have been really amazing to look at. It was very great to look at. Colorful. The choreography of the fight scenes, I think, are the best in any Marvel movie. The martial arts scenes alone were incredible, but then when the fighting from and I didn't do any research, so I don't know, but the fight style from his mother's village, Talo, is this very graceful, dancey style that, when mixed with then the martial arts, like, it looked like the two were dancing. I mean, it was so beautiful and so incredible. I loved so much of it. I can't even. Then by the end, and the big epic scene is this whole. Again, this kind of legend of these creatures, and this dragon comes out, and all this sort of stuff is so well done, and the special effects are incredible and amazing. And Simu, who I fell in love with from the whole press run of this film when it was coming out, like he fits right into the Marvel thing. Like you and I have discussed before about how do they find these actors that it feels like they are really people we can look up to and like are good people and that sort of thing. And I felt that with Simu the whole time, of like, he fits right in. I loved him as a person. And then this Shang-Chi character is just really great. And the after credit scenes, both of them, there are two, are fantastic. And he's going to play into what we would imagine are going to be probably in the Doctor Strange thing with bringing back Scarlet Witch and stuff. So again, this whole phase is just getting started, and so we aren't really entirely sure where it's going. We know, the whole Timekeepers thing and Scarlet Witch playing her thing, and then Doctor Strange from What If, is that going to play into all this other stuff? So, it's going to be very interesting, but Wong from Doctor Strange came in and got him and Katie, and Aquafina kicks ass. Like, she's so great in it. I loved that at first you think her character is just this best friend, and so you think she's just going to be off to the side, like, kind of like, oh no, what's going on? And, you guys go fight and I'll just be sitting over here. And instead she like picks up a bow and arrow and starts fighting alongside, and it's like, it made me so happy that she might be a sidekick, but she is a sidekick instead of just this friend that he happened to have in his origin story, you know? And again, his sister is kind of on the opposite side of that, which is really cool. So it just felt, it was full of rich storytelling and wonderful acting. Michelle Yeoh's in it. It just what a story. And I'm usually not. I usually get over the origin story ones really fast because then I just want to see these characters fighting like in the Avengers and doing stuff, whatever. And so this is a very rich origin story and I love it, but I'm also really excited to see him get in with the rest of the universe and do the next thing, so that we know about the 10 rings. Oh, they brought back Ben Kingsley, who the point of, if you remember Iron Man 3, when Ben Kingsley was in, he was pretending to be the guy with the 10 rings. He was pretending to have them and to take down Iron Man and all that stuff. So they brought back that whole story, which was great because they reintroduced him and he's fantastic in it. And so anyway, it was so good. I can't wait to watch it again. I think you'd really love it. It's so it's action packed, but it's funny, but it's also I cried and all that sort of thing. So really good.
Yeah, and I didn't not watch it because I don't want to.
I was really anxious to watch it, so I didn't want to wait for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I will watch it soon.
Yeah, you still haven't seen Black Widow yet either, so or Loki or what if.
Yeah,
I'm keeping track. But anyway, so
I can't get away with nothing.
I think it's an important movie to watch within the whole phase, and now I'm really looking forward to Eternals. Yeah, so
cool.
Yeah,
you know what just struck me?
What's that?
I had the thought when he first did G.I. Joe, Henry Golding.
Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a G.I. Joe story. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that yet. I want to because it's him, but
yeah. I wonder if he was in the running for this character.
I had that thought simply because the rest of the Crazy Rich Asians cast was in it. So I was like, if only he had been in it, we would have had a full cast.
That's kind of what stoked the thought, but then I thought he would be a good Marvel character.
Yeah.
Character.
It's hard because now Seema did such a great job and I see only him in it.
Yeah, I
could see him in something.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from him at all.
Yeah.
I wonder if
I don't know.
Henry made that deal and this
he probably
came
was
up or
doing
whatever.
Snake Eyes and they thought, it's too much one time. Who knows? But anyway.
Okay.
Next movie I'm going to talk about. Oh, and that's on Disney Plus, by the way. If
isn't everything?
Yeah. Next movie we're going to talk about is one we watched last night on Netflix called Red Notice.
Red Notice.
So this is with The Rock and
Ryan
Reynolds and Gal Gadot. That was it, really. Yeah.
Pretty much.
So why don't you take the first pass?
You sure that's a good idea?
Okay,
I'll let you do the story and then you get my thoughts on it.
So it's a movie where Ryan Reynolds is like a renowned art thief. And we come into the story with The Rock being an FBI agent and he's working with Interpol to take down Ryan Reynolds, who is about to steal. There's a whole backstory that Cleopatra had these 3 bejeweled eggs that Anthony, whatever his name is, gave to her, and that 2 are out there and 1 has been lost forever, and he's about to steal one of the 2 that we know about. And so that's how we're introduced, and then we kind of get introduced to Gal Gadot as being another world-renowned art thief called the Bishop, and she's in this whole play for the eggs as well. There. Now you can give your opinion.
Okay. Well, so I actually really, really enjoyed this. It was a really good mix of Ryan Reynolds doing what he does, playing his, smart ass kind of self, right?
Yes.
And The Rock holding his own comedically, but pretty much playing the straight guy.
Right.
But, in a very Rock way. And then Gal Gadot was, I like her, so I like her in pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And I thought her, the action scenes were really good between those 3.
Yeah.
They were really, really good.
Yeah.
So she got a really good storyline, and it wasn't just about her being there visually. She wasn't just the trophy. Right. She wasn't just the pretty thing in the scenes with those 2. She was very much her
in control.
Own.
Yeah.
So I thought I just enjoyed it. I really don't know what to say. It was funny. Yep. Had a lot of good action.
Yep.
And, there were a couple areas where, I kind of had the thought, kind of what? But
so it's very twisty. So there's a mix. Like I kept thinking about, obviously, the Thomas Crown Affair, because you think about the whole art heist stuff. I also put in there White Collar, the art thief who now is working with the FBI agent to take down someone else, that sort of thing. And White Collar, because they found that whole Nazi treasure, on White Collar. And so I was like, yeah. But anyway, it was nice that it's original for the most part. There were 5 or 6 twists that were very funny because they acknowledged the twists. They weren't like just kind of like, oh, they were like big deals within themselves. The biggest twist I saw coming from the very beginning. So that didn't surprise me at all.
I think I watched movies wrong because I did not see that coming.
It doesn't mean it's wrong. That's the point. You're not supposed to, but it was very obvious to me. But I loved the 3 of them. Yes, the action scenes were great. The fight scenes were great. Again, after just watching Shang-Chi, I was like, oh, no, they're not as good. But they were very good. I loved the kind of meta of the start of the car chase when he gets in the Porsche and the music starts and then he immediately crashes. Like, that was so funny. That was such a meta moment.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So it was that kind of thing, like very lighthearted. Yes, we have the back and forth of Ryan Reynolds and The Rock, and it feels very much like Fast and Furious when those two have had a few scenes together in Fast and Furious, or Hobbs and Shaw, whichever you want to, so we've seen them together before in this very kind of back and forth, but I'll take it whenever I can take it because I love them both. And they left it open for a sequel, which I am in for. And it had the biggest Friday opening of a Netflix movie ever. So there's going to be a sequel.
Yeah, and I don't think they left it open. They pretty much set it up and almost told you there's going to be a second one.
Yeah. And what was interesting that I felt like was I don't normally... It's not that I don't root for the bad guys especially when we're following the bad guys. But I'm always still on the side of the cops on some level. But this woman, she was like, I kept thinking she was going to end up being the thief because she seemed to play a little bit more evil than just being a cop chasing these guys. And so I kept thinking that's going to be the big twist at the end, is that she's taking everything from them. So I don't know, but I've never seen her before, but I did like her. I couldn't get on her side for some reason. Maybe it's because she kept losing them, and so that was
she was the good guy. She was the law.
Yeah,
but she played it very much like a villain.
That's what I kept feeling, and maybe that's what they wanted us, because again, they want us on the 3 of them. We want them on their side, even though they're doing something wrong. But that's normally the case. We're usually, with Ocean's 11, we didn't need to.
I think they could have done it without. If that was a conscious choice, I think they could have easily gotten away without that.
Right, for sure.
And
it worked.
It was fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
And the movie overall was very fun.
It's very fun, very entertaining is all I kept thinking entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
Great popcorn movie.
Oh yeah.
Glad it's an original, not a sequel and all that sort of stuff. So totally take it. And the fact that it's on Netflix, super, super easy and wonderful. And again, on a big screen would be huge and great, but I love our setup here too, and so we've got it pretty nice, and I think was really fun to watch here.
A small screen. I mean,
it's fine. It could be bigger.
Oh, wish I had a dime. Okay,
so that's on Netflix. Red Notice. Next movie we're going to move on to is Halloween Kills. This is the latest in the series. If people want to remember, I've talked about this on here before, when the last Halloween, the H2O or whatever, came out in 2000 or 2020, I went back, I watched the very first one. I thought it was horrible. I then watched the H20. I thought that was horrible. I just don't understand. No one's ever explained Michael Myers to me and why he goes around killing people. It doesn't make any sense. Like at 5 years old, he kills his sister, and then he goes into a hospital like most of his life and comes out and still wants to kill people. I just don't. They've never explained it to me. I need my villains to have a story. So anyway, so now this one comes out. I will say this was the best of the 3 so far. it's a low bar, but this was the best of the three. It picks up exactly where H2O leaves off in the moment, actually a little before. They added a couple stories to the 77 or whatever it was, 78. They added a couple stories to that movie. So they start out back then with a couple little stories so that they could incorporate new characters into this one. And then this one is all about the townspeople. And they get word that Michael Myers is out there after the H2O and all the killings he did there. And, Jamie Lee Curtis is in the hospital because in the H2O they thought they burned him to death and whatever. And of course he ends up getting out. So this was interesting. It spent a lot more time kind of on the characters of the town. Kyle Richards is in it because she played a little girl in the original. So now we're revisiting her character after all these years, and her and the other little kids that were in the original, that like the babysitter who was killed, Anthony Michael Hall now is playing the boy that the babysitter was babysitting, and he's got this revenge and he wants to go out and do all this stuff. So it's very interesting. The story was better because they gave stories to these people who were just kind of in the background or just kind of existing before, which was cool. It was nice. I would have liked way more story into Michael Myers, but whatever. I still don't understand that this dude has got to be 60 years old or something, and he's shot multiple times and stabbed and all this sort of stuff, and everyone thinks he's dead, and then he gets back up and kills 20 people. It doesn't make sense to me. It's never going to make sense to me, but whatever. So this one was entertaining. It's still open for another one. I'm not sure how I feel because it feels like they kind of got rid of most of the people that we care about in this one, but we'll see. I'll still watch it because I'm still looking for answers.
Was Jamie Lee Curtis in this one?
Yes.
And did they get rid of her?
Did she? No, she did not die in this one.
Yeah, I think as long
as she's here, she can come back.
Well, as long as you have her, I think that's enough of the original group that you can keep doing them, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. Well. So anyway, Halloween Kills, watch it or not, whatever. I mean,
watch it or not.
I think it was on HBO Max, I think so.
Sure.
Next movie I'm going to talk about is Dune. This was also on HBO Max. I can't talk about it that much. After 45 minutes, I turned it off. It's just not my thing. I hear people are loving it. Those people who love that kind of stuff.
Sure.
This is the first in a trilogy where I guess the first movie, 30, now it's 30, 40 years ago.
The original Dune?
The original Dune. That's based off the book. I guess the book is very involved. It's very much like a Game of Thrones thing. It's very involved with these families and this war and, blah, blah, blah. So they decided to break this one up into 3. Okay. I was 45 minutes in. They had introduced us to this planet with the spices and this other family that goes there to run I was so bored. I was so completely bored. And we're talking about, I'm looking at Oscar Isaac and Timothée Chalamet and
Zendaya.
Jason Momoa, and I'm bored to death. I didn't even see Zendaya, I don't think. I don't even think she showed up yet.
Oh.
So I think she's narrating it in the beginning, but I hadn't seen her yet. So I just couldn't take it anymore. And look, I knew it going into it. It was not my thing, but I wanted to give it a shot. I gave it a shot. It's fine. People are like, oh, I haven't seen anything this great since Lord of the Rings. That's my point. I've never watched Lord of the Rings because it's not my thing.
Right.
So if that's what you guys are going to compare it to, then I'm stepping out and not going to be me.
Yeah.
So it's fine. For those of you that love it, great. I'm so glad. And look, I will say everyone was fantastic in it. Everyone that I saw, it was quite epic to look at.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
The costumes that I saw were amazing. So I can see putting all of that together. Just for me, if I've gone 45 minutes and you haven't really done anything, I'm not in for it. So,
Yeah.
just me.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. You do you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right. The last movie I'm going to talk about is Home Sweet Home Alone. This is just came out on Disney Plus. It's another Home Alone is what it is. It's not a remake because funnily enough, McAllister, the older brother, now I can't think of his name, Kevin's older brother from the original Home Alone, is in this as himself, McAllister.
That's funny.
And he talks about Kevin McAllister, who has now created all of these home security devices that everyone has in their homes. So it's not a remake. It is just another instance where someone leaves their kid at home. And that's what he references. Like he grows is it Butch? Like his older brother had a name like that. And he grows up to be a cop. And he gets a call saying, hey, can you just do this check on this house? Someone says they've left their son home alone. Mm-hmm. And he goes, no, that's my brother Kevin. He plays this on me every year because we actually did leave him alone twice and blah, 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 blah. So I'm not going to go check on that house because he's just playing a joke on me and blah. So that was kind of funny. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So the screenplay was written by Mikey Day and another dude. Mikey Day's on SNL. He's actually one of my favorites on SNL. So I kind of had high hopes. You don't have high hopes for this. Go into it for kids, I would say mainly. But really, if you've seen the original, and I'm not a super fan, but of course I've watched it a million times, this was nothing at all. Like it was weird. Actually, they changed it up to where, so the family does leave for Tokyo and leaves the kid home alone, but he doesn't have any of those fun moments where he's like, woohoo, I'm alone, and he goes and like, he just kind of eats everything anyways, almost like it's not a big deal for him to just go and eat sweets. He doesn't have the deal where he goes to the store by himself, which was one of my favorite scenes, or go and do stuff. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't start acting like an adult all on his own. He just kind of coils up and stuff. But the villains are Rob Delaney and
Ellie Kemper.
Yes, thank you. And they are like, they're just on dire straits. He can't get a job, so they're having to sell their house, and they find out that this doll they happen to have is like worth $200,000, and they think the kid stole it during an open house. And so that's the crux of this, is they are trying to break into his house to get that doll back, and the kid does all the hijinks, puts Legos on the floor and lights them on fire and does all the stuff that from the original. But it's because these grown-ass adults that are parents themselves, they know the boy is in the house and still want to break in and get this doll that, like, it's the whole time you're just going, who would do this? Who would do this? What grown adult? It's one thing when you're, the Wet Bandits or whatever they called themselves in the original, and you're robbers. Like, if you're robbers, that's what you're going to go do. But when you're grown, normal human, like she's a school teacher, and you're going to go break into someone's house to get a doll, like, just knock on the door. Can we have our doll back, please? Like, it was super weird. So I kept watching going, what is happening? Who thought this was a good idea? Then
you wouldn't have a movie if they did that.
Make it robbers again. Like, why did you have to change that to something else? Super weird.
Oh, because that's condoning crime. I'll see myself out.
Anyway, it's fine, I think, if you have kids and you have to suffer through it. If you don't, then don't. And don't. And if you have kids, show them the original. Yeah. Don't show them this one. So, actually, take it all back. Just don't. That's that.
Your review changed right at the end.
It did. I'm sorry. I can't. Okay. So, now we're going to switch to television. A lot of these are going to feel old because they ended like 6 weeks ago. But we're going to kind of bust through a few of them. Okay. And the first one is Ted Lasso and the second season.
I barely remember it now.
I know. So we had just talked about the first season because you were, catching up and all of that. Yeah. And then it was like second season now finally ended, where we're going to spoil. So spoiler alert on this, where by the end we saw the turn of Nathan. I think the whole season was basically about the turn of Nathan.
Yeah.
And so what did you think of the second season as a whole? Okay.
Sorry. That was a poorly timed yawn.
Yes.
So I liked it. It was, look, season 1 of Ted Lasso was one of my favorite seasons of television ever.
Yeah.
So the fear going into season 2 is always, how do you at least equal that?
Right.
you really don't even try to top that. Just try to equal it.
Yeah, but to me, I feel like there were so many moments in the second season where it did. Now, was it the whole season overall? No, but were there moments? That Christmas episode was a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
The episode where the funeral for her dad at the same time that Ted was having his kind of breakout moment with the therapist. Yeah. Great episode.
Yes, truly. Yeah, so there were a lot of moments that were as good or even better. Yes. So I'll give you that.
Yeah.
All of, I guess what I'm trying to say is I had fears, but those fears were pretty much put to rest. Like 2 or 3 episodes in, I was like, okay, it's as good.
Right.
And things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
And things were. Now, it wasn't as light and bubbly and all up.
No, but I'm glad
season.
of that.
Well,
because it is real life, and I think the mental health issue in sports is a big deal.
Sure.
And not just that, but when you go back and you watch the first season and you go, he can't be like this all the time. Like his wife just left and whatever, and we didn't know about his dad, and you kind of go, he can't keep this up, and a person can't and shouldn't.
Well, they
keep
can't.
that up without breaking.
They can't, but that's what they showed us. All of season 1 was him. Right, him doing that.
A person will break by doing that.
Yeah, but
that's the point.
But so to us casual television viewers, not purists, that's what we saw in season 1. That was Ted Lasso. Now, season 2, we got. I guess we got the. Well, clearly, but we got to see the real Ted Lasso, and yes, he's flawed and has down days, and turns out he has anxiety and depression and all the rest of it. So okay, we'll fight our way through this, I guess. But I gotta tell you, one of my favorite characters ended up being his therapist, and I don't remember her name.
Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she was a nice addition to the cast.
I agree. And you can see, and I love that they kind of held that where so many team members were seeing her, and by the end of the season they got promoted again, and they were winning. And we saw Jamie confront his dad. We saw finally where Roy Kent hugs Jamie and forgives him for everything. But one thing that I'd love to know is the beard episode.
Yeah.
Because I got my bosses watching this show, so they were catching up. And this is not typical of their show that they would watch. And they got to that episode, and one of them could not keep watching. He did not understand that episode. He did not like it. He actually did not finish the episode. Yeah. And was about to not keep watching the show because of that episode.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I understand that. Halfway through that episode, I was like, this is so far out of left field. What are they doing to us?
But isn't that beard?
Yes and no. So if you realize it's just an episode all about, as soon as you realize it's an episode focused on him and it's almost a parody of his personality, then you're like, oh, okay. But until you realize that, it's like, what the hell is going on here?
I guess, it starts because of Jamie's dad, remember? And he's like, I have to go walk this off. And it comes back to the whole mental health vein running through the season where this is how he handles stuff.
Yeah.
And did he get into weird scraps and weird stuff? But that's also, I think, him so much. Like, I love Beard. I love that he's he loves taking in information, and I think part of that is being around different kinds of people. And by the end of that episode, when he meets up with Jamie's dad again in the alley and gets his butt kicked, like, there's something there about, he had to go through that because he shows up the next morning and he's not going to talk about it anymore. That was him dealing with however he deals with
it.
Was it a one-offer? Sure. Am I glad that we had it? I am, because I love Beard, and I thought it gave me so much more insight into him and how much he because that scene with Jamie and his dad was rough.
Sure.
And the fact that Beard, who always seems so silent, was so affected by it. It gave me so much more of him that I love.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why they did it, and it served a purpose.
Yeah.
Me personally, I could have very much done without it.
I think too it's going to lead into next season, because the way he's going to want to deal with Nathan is going to be very different than the way Ted's going to want to deal with Nathan, now that they have to go against him as opponents, and it's going to be interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. They say the third might be the final season.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that too, because again, you can only expect so much of this kind of perfection from people.
Yeah, it's like The Good Place. Why drag it out?
Right.
I mean, if or
Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, I mean 3, 4 maybe really good seasons.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Right.
And we'll miss it,
of course,
but you'd rather have it stay great,
right? Instead of repeating stories,
than overstay its welcome. Yeah.
You're gonna have to repeat something if you keep going.
And as far as dealing with Nate, I think Ted and Beard should just cancel each other out and let Roy Kent deal with Nate. Yeah, because I gotta tell you, Roy is still one. I think my favorite character.
Yeah,
it's not an episode of Ted Lasso until like Roy's fourth or fifth F-bomb and that growl.
Yeah,
once he growls, okay, here we are.
Right, but it's I could go on and on about this show because that Christmas episode where he had to take his niece from door to door to find a dentist because her breath stunk. Oh my God, that was just the sweetest and funniest. And but I think we're gonna deal with Roy in the third season of being broken, because if Keeley is doing all this business stuff, he's gonna be a little broken, and that's gonna be interesting to see how he handles it. He finally came to the group for some advice, and is that going to continue or whatever? So
what do they call themselves? What kind of dogs?
Devil dogs? No,
I don't remember.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you're not watching Ted Lasso, who are you?
Shame upon you.
Go watch Ted Lasso. It's wonderful. Period.
Yes.
On Apple TV Plus.
Yep.
Okay. Next series I'm going to talk about is, I could go on forever about this too, but I'm going to keep now anything without you involved. I'm going to try and get through really quickly. Next series is What If on Disney Plus. This is the latest in the Marvel series, television series on Disney Plus. This was an animated series, and basically this follows Loki, where at the end of Loki we finally see the Timekeeper, Jonathan Majors, who was awesome on SNL last night. And we see that now there are all these breaks in the timeline. So What If follows these breaks and says, well, what if Captain or Steve Rogers doesn't get the super soldier serum, and instead it goes to Peggy Carter, and she becomes
Captain Carter.
Captain Carter. And so we have a show about that. We have What If T'Challa actually is Star-Lord, and he is raised with the what's his face, Mary Poppins is all I can think of. So there's all these different things. We see the zombies, which was a big series of comic books. Who else do we see? Thor, if he just becomes a partier and just kind of goes from place to place partying and never really does anything serious. Doctor Strange using his powers to just try and reverse time to bring Christine back. Like it's all these what ifs. If one thing different happened, and we see this watcher who is constantly watching, and by the end of the series he actually gets involved and he has them try and save the whole everything that's going on. It's hard for me to say anything without really giving away so much, because I believe the Doctor Strange thing that happens in What If might roll into his multiverse movie that comes out next year. So without knowing, I don't want to say too much of what happens and all this. So anyway, it's really great. We're getting a second season of What If. And the perfect thing about What If is that they can do anything, right? They can, because like there's one here where Thanos is a good guy, I mean, it's just, if one thing changes in someone's life, it all can become someone else. And so, and Vision is the one who collects all the stones, and he goes on this, power raid, and it's like, that's Vision. Like, how did he, so it's this really great idea that in multiverses, different things will happen to these characters, and so we can follow them with whatever. So it's really great. It's very entertaining. Second season coming out probably in a year or two, and it's a lot of fun because you're revisiting a story you knew, and then they change it to where you're like, oh, so she like Nebula turns out again to not have, because Thanos is a good guy, he doesn't destroy her and have to make her mostly robot, and so she becomes like this normal woman who gets to live a life and all this. So it's really cool to kind of see all these characters that we love so much, but see them in a different twist. Very interesting, super fun to watch. What If on Disney Plus.
Okay,
next series we're going to talk about is Only Murders in the Building.
Yes.
First season, second season has been ordered and is coming. We slightly talked about this, but Steve Martin Short, Selena Gomez. Okay, go.
Yeah. Well, so I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very clever. It to me was the perfect mix of Martin Short and Steve Martin, who were very much themselves. Mm-hmm. And Selena Gomez, I really didn't know much about her. This was the first thing I've really ever seen her in.
Yeah.
Never paid attention to her music or anything like that. And she was great. Yeah. I really liked her. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The three of them together really worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the story was a little long, maybe.
What? Okay, you're done.
Go ahead.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
No, I don't have anything else to say. I really, really enjoyed it. I went through periods of, is this really how it's going to be? And they kind of, to me, just ever so slightly dragged that on just a little bit too long. But I don't have a problem with it. I enjoyed it.
Okay. So the premise here is that the three of them live in this big apartment complex in New York City, and someone ends up getting killed in the building. And the three of them, being like super murder podcast fans,
murderinos,
they kind of connect in this one moment saying, holy crap, maybe we can solve this murder. And they decide to start a podcast themselves. So it's a little meta in that way, but it's very interesting. A lot of twists, a lot of turns. We learn a lot about these three characters. We learn a lot about the character that was killed. And it's very interesting. It was very rich in their characters to me. I loved the humor. It was very funny and very entertaining to me. And the writing was just, there's also a podcast that goes with the show, and I only listened to the first couple, but that was, I want to get back to it. It was very interesting. But what I loved about it was that these three people were very alone before all of this, mm-hmm. And I think at a time like this where the pandemic and people, that is kind of where people have been living, the fact that they came together and that they are very different people and even different generations, and that they came together and kind of constructed this family of their own choosing. Mm-hmm. I love that aspect, and it started to even be the reason why they let in some other people that maybe they shouldn't have, because it was, oh, well, I've let in these people and things are working out so great, so let me continue that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I love that idea of how lonely they all were and how truly they connected. Because there's something to that, especially for those of us that maybe don't have an easy time connecting with people. I love to watch that, especially among people that you don't think would ever connect.
Sure.
So yeah, I didn't know much about. I mean, I may have seen one or two episodes of like Wizards of Waverly Place or whatever that was that she was on. But I never really paid much attention to her as well. So yeah, she was a fun bouncing off of them. It was. It was good, and it was good mm-hmm. writing between those generations, that she was able to say things to them and they could say things to her about age and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
But I loved the scenery. I loved the sets. I loved how everything looked, their clothes, all of that. I'm so excited for a second season. And the way it ended, I'm clueless. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know where it's going to go from there. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I love Tina Fey being in it. That was a special You know, she plays a very famous podcaster in it, so that was good.
Oh yeah, and any Nathan Lane that I can get. I'm good.
Yeah.
So he was in it. Not enough, but he was in it.
And Amy Ryan was in it. And yeah, so it was great. I'm so excited for a second season.
Yeah.
So that's on Hulu. Totally worth watching.
Oh yeah.
So entertaining.
Yeah.
So entertaining. And the episodes are half hour.
Half hour, they fly by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Way too fast.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Next series I'm going to talk about is Back to Life. Here, this is on Showtime. This is the second season. And of course now I'm blanking on her name. The girl from Episodes. Anyway,
yes. We all know.
Anyway, so she created this show. I loved the first season. The premise was that she had been in prison for 17 years in England for killing her best friend when she was 18, and she had come out, and now she had to figure out life and live with her parents and, you know, live in this small seaside town where everyone, you know, thought she was this murderer. And we found out that it was actually someone else that pushed the girl and all this stuff. So anyway, the second season I did not enjoy as much. It felt like we're repeating things again, you know. Oh, she's still having to figure life out, and then it started getting back into the murder and her friend's parents, and I don't know. It felt a little it wasn't as funny. The first season felt really funny, and the second one didn't feel as funny. So I don't know if I recommend it. I think if you're watching it, then yeah, great, and we'll stick with it, right? But I don't know that I would go and tell anyone to go back and watch the first season and get started in it. So, right. But anyway, that's Back to Life.
Daisy Haggard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next show I'm going to talk about is actually the Muppets Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah.
This was just a little show. I guess it could have been a movie. It was like maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Oh my God, this was so great. I don't know, you know, as a kid, you love Muppets, right? But there is no way you can appreciate the Muppets without being an adult. I'm sorry, you can't.
Not fully.
They are so funny, and it's because they do all those kind of inside jokes, mocking themselves, mocking other people, mocking the industry, whatever it is. As a kid, you do not get that stuff.
Right.
I am sorry. And so anyway, I loved this so much. There were so many people in it. Will Arnett and Darren Criss and Taraji P. Henson and I'm blanking. But anyway, they took the biggest aspects from the Haunted Mansion ride and they put it into this special where Gonzo had to go stay a night at the Haunted Mansion, or a Haunted Mansion, not the ride, but a Haunted Mansion, in order to win this magician's, you know, legacy or whatever. I don't know. Who cares? So him and Pepe go into this mansion to try and stay the night. And all the things from the ride are their deterrents, right? You know, they see Madame Leota and they go into the graveyard, and the song is played. Darren Criss sings the song of the Happy Haunts. And I mean, there's just so much. There were so many Easter eggs and so many funny moments. I cracked up through the whole thing. I mean, Gonzo, I think, is one of my favorites anyways.
Very underrated Muppet.
Yes. And one of the funniest parts was he FaceTimes, because he's missing Piggy and Kermit's Halloween party to do this. So he FaceTimes them to say he's sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all dressed up in their Halloween costumes. And Miss Piggy is dressed up as Kermit, and Kermit is dressed up as Miss Piggy, and it is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I remember you trying to explain that to me when you watched it. And
you have to see it to get how funny it is. Oh my God, I just couldn't. So anyway, it's a blast. If you know the ride, you're going to love it even more. If you don't, it's just still good, funny Muppets humor and hijinks.
Funny Muppets.
But if you know the ride, my God, you'll get so much out of it.
Right.
So anyway, so that's on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Of course. The next show I'm going to talk about is the third season of You. This is on Netflix. This stars Penn Badgley. Sorry.
That sounded not right, but I couldn't correct you
But
on it.
Ben sounds like a name, but no, Penn Badgley, which the first season I think was like on Lifetime, and then Netflix took over for the second, or maybe both seasons were on Lifetime and then Netflix took over for this third. I don't know. Anyway, awesome show. I have loved this show from the start. And honestly, I didn't know how the third season was going to go, because at the end of the second season, he married this woman named Love, and they were having a baby, and this guy's a stalker. He's a murderer. And so you're like, how is this gonna go? And this was the best season out of the three. It really was.
Oh, good.
And I love this show so much, and whoever's show running it and writing it, like, kudos to them, because they really came up with such a different approach for this third season that it was just so great. And now I don't even know that I want them to do a fourth, because, now it's got to kind of go back to square one or something. And I'm just like, it was so good. I can't even say enough. So anyway, if you like Lifetime movies, that's kind of what I usually equate it to, is the kind of stalkery, murdery thing. But it's so clever and intelligent, and done with obviously way better than a Lifetime movie has done. But it just has that feel. That's why I think I always say that to people.
Sure.
But it's great. It's really good. So definitely check it out. All three seasons, so worth it, and a fourth is coming. So that's good.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm sorry I missed it. Another show add to the list, I guess.
I don't know if you'd like it. It would be interesting to see. I'm not sure if you would.
In 30 seconds or less, what's the premise?
Like I said, he's a stalker. That's it. And so he falls in love with someone that he stalks, and he'll do anything to protect that person, even if it's killing people. And then you just kind of have to wait and see if he ever actually gets with the people or not. But he easily moves from one to the next, because he'll see someone and he'll go, "Oh, you." It's called you because that's what he says. "Hey, you."
Oh, okay.
I see what you're doing over there, as he's stalking. So it's a lot of voiceover from Penn. Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
It's great.
Okay.
But it kind of it can feel absurd. So that's why, like, I have a smile on my face when I'm talking about it, because it's not scary at all. Not at all.
Right.
It's kind of like, seriously, dude, that's what you're going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you kind of are on his side, which is so weird.
Yeah.
So it's just great. It's really well done. Well done. Well done.
Okay.
So now You is on Netflix, all three seasons. Definitely check it out. And maybe I'll get you to maybe try it.
Well, one of these nights when we're sitting around, we don't know what else to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Next series I'm going to talk about is Truth Be Told. This was the second season. If you remember, the first was with Octavia Spencer, where she was a podcaster, and Aaron Paul was on the first season. The second season we're still with Octavia, and Kate Hudson joined this second season, playing her childhood best friend. And Kate Hudson's husband gets killed, and so Octavia she's like an investigative journalist who has a podcast, and so she starts investigating who could have killed her husband, and all this stuff starts coming up. I mean, this was an all over the place season for me. Because we were bringing back the first season, which it's been a couple years since I saw, and integrating things that happened in that one with this one, and then this story felt kind of all over the place with the husband's murder, and so it felt a little wonky for me at times. I was kind of like, what is happening? But love Octavia. Kate Hudson did an incredible job. She was this very stoic, most of the time I thought she was the murderer, type person. So, so she was good. But it's an interesting cast of characters, and if there's going to be a third season, I'm definitely still in, because it is very interesting to see, her life. Octavia, she's got this father who's kind of sick, and then these sisters, and they're all trying to take care of each other, and so I love that whole family dynamic. So if there is a third one, I'll definitely be in. I definitely recommend someone to watch both seasons. It's really that good, and maybe if I rewatch it, I'll be able to follow it a lot more, because I think people who just watch season one, going into season two, you won't be as confused as I was, just because it had been so long and I don't remember the details of it. So,
Gotcha.
but this is all on Apple TV Plus. Truth Be Told with Octavia Spencer, really good, definitely worth it.
Okay.
Yeah. Next series I'm going to talk about quickly, if I can. Impeachment, an American crime story. This is Ryan Murphy's telling of the Bill Clinton impeachment deal. Monica Lewinsky was a producer on the show, so she had a lot of input into her character herself and what happened. She even inserted things that were not in the original script just to make it more authentic, at her own detriment. So I liked the series. I felt like it stopped a little short. I think it could have had another episode or two to maybe, I don't know, I want to say blame, but maybe show the difference in the lives after it, because it didn't seem to show how much Monica lost. So I'm also biased. I'm a huge Monica fan. One of probably the oldest book I have on my bookshelf is her book. I'm a big fan, and I always have been. So I love that she was involved in telling more of her story. And in this depiction, you definitely see Linda Tripp. Sarah Paulson as Linda Tripp was incredible. But you see how Linda Tripp did what she did, and a little bit of why. It's still confusing. You still don't understand a person doing such a thing, but she felt she was so much bigger than she was, that it's just, and she hated the Clintons so much, but to take down a young girl like that, anyway. So I found it very interesting. Everyone did an amazing job. Clive Owen as Bill Clinton, never would have put those two together, but he did a great job. And Beanie Feldstein was Monica. So anyway, I was quite entertained by it. I didn't learn anything new that I didn't already know, except a little bit more about Linda Tripp and her psychoses, which could I have lived the rest of my life without? Yeah, because what a horrible human being. But it is what it is, and it is a piece of history. And whatever you think about, who's to blame or whatever, you should have some sympathy for what a young girl went through, and how horrible our government is to have, they were out for blood so badly that they also didn't think about her and making her talk about such things in detail, which ended up having nothing to do with anything other than, again, people just wanting to know details,
salacious details
that have nothing to do with.
I thought at the time, thinking back, I don't remember it well, but I do remember it, happening. And, at the time it was kind of like, why is this girl being the one vilified? and I think a lot of people thought that, but people didn't really, we didn't have the movements that we have nowadays for people to take up somebody else's cause. Right. And nowadays social media, if this happened, people would, there would be a good number of people coming to her defense and saying, look, this situation is messed up, but it's not her fault. It's not, is she partly to blame? Sure, because it takes two. Right. But
was there a power?
Well, people in power back then, totally did whatever they had to do to take as much pressure off of Bill Clinton as they could and vilify her. Right.
Yes, that's happened, though. That's the case with women, really up until the last couple of years. And you can still see it happen. I mean, there's still, and I'm trying to think of something that just happened recently where people were still mean towards the woman and victim instead of the man, but I'm blanking. But I know it just happened recently, and I was like, what's happening again? But yes, you're right. So, yeah. Anyway, so moving on. It was on FX, so I think it's on Hulu now. I think it's worth watching, especially if you don't know a lot about it. You will learn. But for those of us that followed it quickly or closely, then, there's not much new information except maybe, like I said, Linda Tripp.
Okay.
So, next thing I'm going to talk about is a documentary on HBO. It was called 4 Hours at the Capitol. This is about 4 hours from January 6th insurrection. This was horrible, horrible to watch. But I also think very important. There was a lot of footage in there that has not been released and shouldn't be on like the news or anything, because it's very violent and very horrifying. But again, it's history, and the truth should be seen. And this is from 4 or 5 different guys that had cameras in there that were either neutral or not. But then there's also interviews with the insurrectionists. Is that what they're called?
Mm-hmm.
And their beliefs and why they felt like they were right in doing what they did. So on some level, you see that, but then there's also interviews with the police, and you hear their stories, and you hear about those that have killed themselves since. So you can take a side, I guess, but it's a well done documentary, and it is horrifying. It's really, really, really difficult to watch. And now, we're still going through this. It's still very active. We don't know what's really going to come of this and all of that. But when you watch this, I don't know how you can have any other side to it, really.
Yeah. Yep.
So I just, I know you couldn't sit through it. I would have loved to have watched it with you, but you wouldn't be able to.
My blood is boiling just envisioning what you're talking about.
But it's incredible because there is so much more to see that we did not see, and things that were going on and even when the cops testified and I watched all of those testimonies, we were shown more, but not any of this. It's quite horrifying. And I had mentioned this to you after watching it in person that as a kid growing up just an hour south of DC, all my field trips and everything were going up to the monuments and going to the Smithsonian and going to the Capitol and doing, those were all of our trips that as a kid you're taught these are sacred places and momentous places and the things that happen there. And so it's really hard to watch.
Sure.
And even if you've never been to these places, I'm not saying that makes it any more anything, but if you've never been, you should understand the respect that needs to be paid.
Yeah. If you have been to these places in your lifetime, you just get a sense for how revered they really are in person.
Right.
You get that in person so much more than any documentary, any home video, or watching something on a History Channel. You feel it when you're there,
right?
And to I think your point is to know what that feels like, to have that sense of respect for these places that you get when you're there in person, to see what happened and to listen to. I don't want to get political here, but just to listen to the justifications or the passing off of it or whatever.
Well, to walk in and not have that respect, to walk in and just have this goal of destruction.
Sure.
Of whether it was people or the property. Sure. That's what's hard. It's like when your house gets broken into, you feel violated. There's a certain level of like a violation to our national house. I mean,
yes, but and I don't want to get political, and I'm just going to say this, and then I'm going to be done with it. It would be as if your house got broken into, and half of the police force, were telling you it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. It's not like you think it is.
Right.
It was a peaceful protest, or
right. They're lovely people.
Yeah, they're not so bad. They're just like you. All that dumb crap.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent there. And
anyway.
I'm going to stop.
Yeah. Anyway, if you think you can take it, and I think it's an important thing to watch, it should be on HBO Max now. I'm sure it's still on HBO On Demand. 4 hours at the Capitol, definitely worth it. So check that out. Flipping to a lighter side of things, Will Smith is having a moment right now, so I wanted to talk about. So King Richard comes out next week. I will definitely be checking that out on HBO Max. But Oprah has an interview with him on Apple TV Plus. That's a great interview. She talks all about his memoir called Will, which I have sitting next to me right now because I hope to read it. Holy crap, it's like 400 pages. I don't know that I've ever read a book that long, but maybe next year we'll be checking in when I'm finally finished with it. I love Will Smith. If we've talked about our husband list, my husband list on here before, he's on my husband list, so I will read what he has written. But the interview with Oprah is great. And then as well, he has a series. It's only 6 episodes, I think, on YouTube called Best Shape of My Life, where he started at the beginning of this year to lose 20 pounds in 20 weeks at the same time that he was finishing his book. It's actually very interesting because it devolves out of a workout show and really becomes more about, the way I interpreted it was best shape of my life, like mentally.
Therapy.
Yeah, because his therapist is on here, but it talks about how he has evolved from certain things and different things, and it's all about writing this book brought up so much stuff in him that he just could not carry on with the workouts and the dieting and stuff. So it's a really great, again, 20-minute episodes here and there, 6 of them on YouTube. Best Shape of My Life. If you like Will Smith, it's totally worth checking out. I love the whole family. I watch Jada's show on Facebook, Red Table Talk, every week. I love them all. So, I just wanted to point all of those out because to me, if you like them, then all of this is worth checking out.
Okay.
And the last thing I'm going to talk about on a very, very light note is a new little series that showed up on Disney Plus for Disney Plus Day, which was Olaf Presents.
Yeah.
He has like 5 little 3-minute things on there. If you remember from Frozen 2, when they got into the magic forest or whatever, and Olaf recounts the first Frozen movie, which was entertaining as hell, they turned that into a little series. Yeah. So in like 3 or 4 minutes, he now recounts Moana and Tangled and Aladdin.
Jungle King.
Lion King.
Lion King.
I was like, do you mean Jungle Book or Lion King?
Sorry.
So, and it's super cute. We literally watched them all in 10 minutes. Like, it's super cute. It's Josh Gad voicing Olaf, so you can't get better than that. And the way the animators reassemble Olaf to look like certain things, it cracks me up. And the way he tells these stories is so funny. Yeah. It's a great little thing. So,
and Sven plays a big role in
it
too.
Yeah, definitely.
Sven is kind of a sidekick in this.
Yeah. And the little marshmallows and big marshmallow.
And marshmallow.
Yeah. So, totally fun. When you have a few minutes, just go and watch all those. It's super fun. I think there's going to be more coming out. So
I hope so.
Yeah.
I love Josh Gad.
I know. Have we done him on here?
I don't know, but if we haven't, I could complete one.
Okay, let's move on to the Actors Corner with Martin Short.
Here we go.
And we'll try and get through this quickly.
Quickly? What is that?
Quickly.
All right, so...
Movies you love.
Yeah, Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, that is all.
Oh, that's all you have?
That's all I have.
Oh, okay. So I have Only Murders in the Building. Father of the Bride, hands down, as Frank. Both of them. And the little extension that they did last year. Best Martin Short for me. Frank is one of my favorite characters.
Sure.
I quote all the time. So that's one of them. And then SNL. The year he was on SNL, but also anytime he's on SNL, it's always a treat. But one of my favorite sketches of all time was him when he was on there as a full-time person. So, yeah. Things you like.
Father of the Bride.
Okay.
Mars Attacks.
Okay.
He didn't have a huge role, but he was notable in there.
Okay.
And I went way back. I threw it back to one of his, kind of almost his start, SCTV.
Yeah. Well, Ed Grimley was one of my favorites, and then when I was a kid, Ed Grimley got his own Saturday morning cartoon, so I used to be able to watch that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen Mars Attacks.
Oh, you haven't?
Mm-mm.
Huh. Interesting.
Is it?
I don't know how I feel about that. I'm compelled to say you should see it, but I know you won't.
Right.
So
if I had wanted to, I would have by now.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
That's how you roll.
That's how I roll.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have under my likes Damages. So he was on the second season, third season, I don't remember. But this was like the first time where he really played someone kind of not good and was so serious, and I just felt like it was, I think he even got nominated for it. I don't even remember. But I loved Damages. I loved the whole season, or the whole series, but his season was a good one.
Okay.
Then I have Three Amigos. It's a classic. Can't not talk about it. As a kid, my God, that was one of the funniest things. And then Pure Luck. Oh my God. It's such a stupid movie, but him just, having bad luck. This is the one where he gets stung by bees and he blows up. Oh, come on. It's Martin Short is so great. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Movies you hate.
Okay, so here we go. But I just want to reiterate or remind you. I just want to remind you. Hate is too strong a word.
Okay.
These are things I would say I don't really care for.
Okay.
The morning show.
Well, he's barely on it, but okay.
Well,
I'll give it to you.
He's
He's a despicable character.
He's part of the problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh boy, this is going to be controversial. I'm probably going to get my ass kicked, actually. But I'm just going to get it out there. I don't care for his Jiminy Glick.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Have you seen what have you seen of Jiminy Glick? Did you see the movie?
I've seen enough.
Because the movie cracks me up.
I know.
I don't know why. I know it's annoying. I do. I get it. I get that it's an annoying thing. I think it's hysterical. And when he would do just the interview show,
yeah,
and he would it was kind of like Between Two Ferns, because he would insult everyone to their faces.
Yeah.
And it was so funny to see people react as, oh, come on. I love Jiminy Glick.
I know. Thus the controversy.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. So I have nothing under my hate. So let's move on to Secretly Love.
Also too strong a term. Something I don't mind but really don't talk about. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. So, okay.
I'm just trying to remember him being on there.
So he's on there. He's actually been on there several times, I guess.
Yeah.
I've only seen a handful of episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right.
And they're pretty much the recent ones.
Yeah.
I find myself liking that show.
That's a good show.
So I have to imagine I'd like those episodes as well.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But I put it for secretly because I haven't seen him in it.
Okay.
But I think I like that show. So.
Okay.
Weird logic makes sense in my head. That's it. That's all I have.
That's it. Out of all his stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a also controversial. I'm just not a big Martin Short fan.
What's wrong?
I know.
All right. Under my Secretly Love, Three Fugitives. It's not even a secret. It's wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
When I think of Martin Short, that is the first thing I think of. That movie breaks my heart so much. I mean, Nick Nolte and that little girl.
Yeah.
That is one of the best movies, and it is not on enough. It is not on ever. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw it, and I tried to buy it a while ago, and it wasn't even available for sale.
Wow.
But if you haven't seen Three Fugitives, somehow try and find it. It is so good. It is a heartwarming, amazing movie where he's at his best. Nick Nolte was at his best. Yeah.
I would probably add that to my likes because I have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw it right after it came out 25 years ago or whenever it was. And I liked it. It didn't move me like it moves you, but
then you didn't
I liked
see
it
because there's no
okay.
way you could make it through without crying.
Okay.
And maybe you didn't back then, but now you'd be bawling your eyes out. So, yeah.
Are you saying I'm getting soft in my old age?
I don't know. I didn't know you when you were hard.
Oh.
Anyway.
Moving on.
And also under here I have Santa Claus 3. I'm a fan of the Santa Claus movies, so this is not really anything surprising. But in the third one, he plays Jack Frost. He's the villain. It works for me. Whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm good. Okay, Embarrassed You Haven't Seen?
Three Amigos.
I don't know what you did in the 80s. I don't understand. It's like you have a whole blank slate blip Did you get blipped? Because you weren't around. You haven't seen any movies from the 80s. I don't understand it.
I don't remember what I did in the 80s.
Exactly. I don't get it. How close was your nearest movie theater?
It was in Ashland, so it was like 10 miles away.
Could you ride your bike?
Well, we did ride our bikes to Ashland every once in a while.
But not to go to the movies.
Well, not after dark.
That confuses me. Okay. I'm not embarrassed. I haven't seen anything. Are you adding anything to your watch list?
So, Three Amigos.
Okay.
And Pure Luck.
Okay. So my honorable mentions include Inner Space.
Yeah.
Well, I had SCTV. Also Inner Space, which was great. Big Picture, he's funny in that. Captain Ron is actually a favorite of mine. And it's interesting because he kind of plays the straight guy and Kurt Russell is like the wild and crazy guy. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I've seen that movie and I don't remember him in it.
He's the dad.
That's not...
He's the dad who hires Captain Ron to
not shocking.
Sail.
Actually.
Yeah.
That's weird because they're like the same age, aren't they?
He needed someone to sail the boat. It doesn't matter about age.
Oh, okay.
Martin Short is the dad of the family, and they hire Captain Ron to sail the boat.
Yes, gotcha.
Okay. I had Jiminy Glick on here, of course. How I Met Your Mother, he was a good cameo in that. That was funny. His own show a few years ago with Maya Rudolph, Maya and Marty. I loved that show, and that is where Mikey Day first appeared.
Yeah, I didn't love it, but I did appreciate it. I liked it.
I loved it. I wished it had lasted. It was only during the summer, and I kept hoping it would become a summer thing. But Mikey Day was their day player, and then the next season he showed up on SNL. Surprisingly,
yeah. Too much going on in that show, and that was
no.
There's too much good television.
And then he was just on Schmigadoon. He had a little thing on Schmigadoon,
I saw
which
that.
was fun too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love Martin Short. I read his biography maybe 10 years ago or something. Great biography, really amazing story, and the loss of his wife and all of that is heartbreaking. But he's such a he goes on for his kids, and all of his talk of his Canadian start is all very interesting and all that. So anyway, love him and wish him the best.
Was his autobiography after she passed?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I know that.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah. And I know that he and Steve have just gotten even closer after that.
Yeah, because Steve was they've always been best friends and always traveled together and all of that. So then when it happened, Steve has just stayed there for him. And my favorite, I think it's the first chapter in his book, is how him and Tom Hanks and Steve Martin all get their colonoscopies together every year. So that always sticks in my head because that's just one of my favorite. Because I always think of like my dad and my uncle like getting together every year. Like they go to someone's house the night before, they eat a ton, and then they take the horrible crap that makes them clean out their systems, and then they get up in the morning and go to the same doctor and get their colonoscopies together. I love it. I just love it.
Can you imagine working in that doctor's office? And the door opens and
how many
Martin
jokes,
Short, Steve Martin, and Tom Hanks walk in?
How many jokes are they throwing out when they walk in that door? I can't even. So
yeah,
that just makes my heart smile. So anyway,
I'm tempted to quit my job, go to work there just to be there on the day that they come in. Because it's got to be that fun.
Yes. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for hanging in there. That was a long one. Hopefully we won't be 6 weeks again.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks is Thanksgiving, actually, so we'll see.
We should be able to fit it in.
Yeah,
have some turkey and then fire up the podcast.
Oh, my God. Turkey.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing.
Yes.
Anyway, none of that matters to anyone else.
I was thinking of the tryptophan,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was watching.
Oh, you're making me sleepy.
Oh, man.
Just thinking about it.
That worked way too well.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much. We wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving, because even if 2 weeks, it'll be after Thanksgiving. So
right.
Have a great and safe Thanksgiving. Wear your masks. Don't be around unvaccinated people.
Be nice to each other.
Be nice to each other. And that's that.
Yeah.
All right. Until then, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.